G'day to you, wherever you are, on this 22nd of May 2026 edition of A Message of Hope. Yes, my name is George. So let's begin. Let's wind back the clock a bit, because in July 2013, China amended its elderly rights law. Pretty interesting concept, so let me go on. Adult children were now legally required to visit their parents often. Now, what does often mean? It's unclear to me at this time. Anyway, parents who felt neglected could take their children to court. Like I said, very interesting law. 8 million people responded on Weibo overnight. Weibo is their equivalent of social media there. I mean, hello, 8 million people, right? Overnight. Obviously stirred up some sort of reaction. Now, most of them were not impressed. A country actually legislate respecting its parents? That's the question. The law was mocked widely, here and overseas. It never defined what often meant. That's what I said. Set no frequency, outlined no clear penalties as well. Pretty vague, right? Like I said, I don't know any other country implemented that law. But for years, it was largely unenforced. Not surprisingly. Now let's fast forward that to the 10 years, a little bit over 10, to 2025. You see, the Chinese government stood at a press conference in the capital, Beijing, with something more substantial this time. It wasn't just symbolic language, but they were talking about infrastructure, putting up with funding, and a national care network at the county, township, and at the village level as well. Ooh, I've got to be careful when I'm stepping here. Now, this is because the numbers have become impossible to ignore, you see. In just a short period of time, right? By around, they estimate, 2035, which is only a few years away, right? The number of people aged 60 and over in China is projected to exceed 400 million people. Think about that. That's more than the current population of the United States, United Kingdom. You can also put in Australia and New Zealand, I guess, all of them combined together. 400 million elderly people. Whew, that's not a small number in one country and in 9 years, right? So the 2013 law had good intentions, and but still copped a lot of flack. As you can see, the 2025 framework has both this time, because someone has to do it. And the pressure is not unique to China only. Listen guys, Japan, South Korea, Italy, Germany, yes, even our home country, Australia. Every developed country faces the same curve. That is, fewer working younger people, but more elderly dependent, and they're dependent on the pension system designed for a world that no longer exists for them in the way they thought it would be. And then of course this is what's happening to the incomes. You've probably seen the headlines, right? Meta, creator of the Facebook, recently announced thousands of job cuts. Atlassian, I've covered this not too long ago, which is an Australian company, cut 10% of its global workforce. And if you look in 2025 alone, close to 250,000 tech workers that's worldwide lost their jobs. What are they going to do? That number's already climbing fast in 2026, and it doesn't seem to be stopping as well. So the income certainly previous generations could plan around actually is becoming less reliable. And the floor people were standing on is now shifting on shaking grounds. Oh, by the way, as usual, thank you for all my subscribers. I've now passed 51 subscribers, so thank you so much to all. Keep your comments going. I really love to read them. They've been entertaining and thought-provoking as well. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share this video far and wide. So that was my commercial break. Let's get back to it. Okay, now none of this is primarily a story about China. That's not my point. But I want to say the Apostle Paul wrote his letter to Timothy, and not to a government, not to a welfare system, but he was aiming at the church, you see. So have a listen. This is from 1 Timothy chapter 5, verses 3 to 5. You might have heard of this, so it's worth repeating it. It says, honor widows who are truly widows. But if a widow has children or grandchildren, let them first learn to show godliness to their own household and to make some return to their parents, for this is pleasing in the sight of God. She who is truly a widow, left all alone, has set her hope on God and continues in supplications and prayers night and day. So there's a bit of work for the widow to do too, isn't it? Anyway, remember what it says? Make some returns to their parents. This is not about charity, not goodwill when it suits convenience, but returns of what you've done. Paul is naming a debt here. D-E-B-T, debt. He's basically saying your parents poured years into you when you could give nothing back. True. When you were entirely dependent on them. True again. And this is the repayment window. And it has a closing date too. And that's for everyone. Now, I can hear objections. You might be saying, isn't that what the system is for? Isn't that what our taxes are paid for? Aged care facilities, government support, trained professionals, aged care professionals, right? Yeah, okay, you can look at it that way. And yes, I do think those things help. But the system can deliver a meal. Sure. What a system cannot do is walk through a door as a face that remembers who that person was at 30 years ago, 40 years ago, right? A care worker can be competent and kind, but still not be you. You are the one who know your elderly and your loved ones. That's your family. And the church once understood this, right? That's what the passage was for. Before governments expanded their reach, hey, the elderly were the community's responsibilities. And I believe in many countries it's still the case. Families care for families. And to a large extent, communities care for their own. So where families fell short, the church stepped in, not as a system, but as people with hearts for God. Then the government grew, welfare expanded, and the church stepped back. And I've seen it more and more as well. And they stepped back quietly, with genuinely good intentions. I get it, everyone's busy. So the system are now straining. As you can see, the demographic sets that will strain even further. That's what the record's indicating. So the Apostle Paul doesn't say wait for a better framework. No, he says first learn, which means in the present tense, and it's going to be active right now. You've got to do it. Now I need to say something honest before I ask anything of you. Okay, I'll give you a bit of background. My wife has raised our retirement plan with me more than once, and more patiently than I deserve, really. Hard to think that's the case, isn't it? Because I talk about finance. But she is right. But at least I have my will in place, and I believe that is a genuine, responsible thing to do that more people should actually do. Because you never know when your time's up. Or even then, when you're sick and incapable, what if you're unconscious, right, from a stroke? Who knows? Anyway, but the broader plan for the retirement, I haven't given the attention I should that much. I do think about it. Now that's not a virtuous admission, please. That's just where things stand. If I'm asking you to plan faithfully, you should know I'm still completing that work myself. And here's what I do know. When my wife's elderly parent needed her, when it became clear she would have to travel overseas for an extended period of time just to care for them, I had no hesitation. I gave her my blessing and she went. Now people ask whether that was difficult for me. What do you think? Put in the comments. Do you think George would have struggled quite a bit? Or quite the opposite? Let's have a guess. I'll tell you. You can always make more money, right? And I've never once seen anyone create more time. And if they did, I wouldn't know the secret if they can bottle it and sell more time. Because if such a thing existed, I would have spent every dollar I had on it. Boy, wouldn't that be a crazy invention? Anyway, she was spending the one currency that generally cannot be replenished. and in a season with her parent that will not come again. And that currency is time. I wasn't managing the loss of it. I felt it clearly for what it was. Time being spent the only way time should be spent in that season. Yes, I still believe it. And I'm grateful that she went. I'm grateful because what I've seen, I work in an environment where I see what the absence of that choice looks like. Remember, I work in an aged care facility. Faces watching the doors, the elderly, hands that remember what they once did. They stare in their hands, they stare at the sky, stare at the window. And sometimes the door doesn't open as often as it should. It's not out of cruelty, but out of business and out of the weeks going by. You just cannot recover yesterday's hours, can you? And nobody sends you a warning about it. My friends, I want to put something to you, and I want you to hear it properly too, please. Is there someone in your family right now? An elderly parent, a grandparent, grandma, cousins, aunties, uncles, sitting near a window right now and the door isn't opening the way it should? Not because you're a bad person, but because life is relentless and somehow the visit that was going to happen next month has been next month for 6 months. Are you that busy? Paul called it a return, something owned, not a favor, right? And why I have you here? Because this stewardship runs both ways. What is your plan for when you are the one at the window one day? It'll happen. Please get your will done whenever possible. Do review your superannuations, any entitlements you've got. Hopefully you have some sort of insurance. And have an honest conversation with a financial planner, if possible. Not because it's exciting. Nobody gets up in the morning and says, hey, I've got to see a financial planner, right? But they're nice people. But you're doing it because it is faithful. Because good stewardship now means the people you love unscrambling later. The women by that window had today once. She was where you are standing. That's right. So, make some return to their parents, it says. Hear those words differently now, not as a sign of guilt, but as an invitation with a closing date. And I know I keep coming back to that woman with the yogurt container. What she cannot do, I still do. I mean, what time I still have, she cannot recover. And when you're in that chair, what do you want to have been true about the years between now and then? Time is so precious, isn't it? It's the only resource. We can't create more. All right, guys. I've got to get ready for work. You look after yourself. I'll see you on the next one. Do subscribe. Give it a thumbs like. Give me some encouragement. And share the video to your loved ones. Take care. Bye-bye.